Well, looks like it's Tuesday. I believe it's the 27th. Yep. Oh, heck. And it is kind of a scorcher day out there today. But I thought today would be a good day to just keep everything on a positive end. I haven't put any of those out in a while, have I? So today there's no crying or getting drama going or anything like that. Just a good old story, true story, short one. A while back somebody asked me why I didn't have this one particular person we'd been talking about as a neighbor or something like that, or invite him. And I said no, I like my neighbors too much. I wouldn't wouldn't trade them off or with somebody out there to replace them, and I'm perfectly happy with what's here. But I thought, you may have heard me talking a time or two about I have a neighbor over here that's raising their great grandchild, and they're in their early 60s, and the little boy just turned 3 years old, I believe. And boy, I mean, he is just full of it. One thing about all these kids, my neighbor's kids, are all big kids. They're over 6 foot, all big players, football type players. They're just up and running. Well, this little kid is probably going to be bigger than all of them. He's already looks about like a 5-year-old at 3, and I've never seen him walk. He's always run from when he would get out in the backyard. Last year when he was about 2 years old, he could run and outrun his granddad out here, his great granddad actually, in the backyard, and that's quite a feat. I mean, now he could probably outrun me the day he took his first step. Anyway, he's one of those kids that no matter what, he's smiling, got this great big grin on his face, and his eyes are smiling. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but he has these bright, and they're blue, very blue eyes. Just he is the optimum child if you ever wanted it. He's got a big boy's haircut, and he's always, from when he was pretty young, he always got the big boy's haircut because he's a big boy. He likes that. And he also occasionally will wear a baseball hat, and he's got one of these electric cars out there in back, and he's had that. Now this goes on the second summer, and the first summer his grandfather would come out there and run him around in it. It's got a remote control, and this year he's a big enough boy that he handles it himself, and he drives it like a pro. And one of his biggest thrills is about this time of the day. He goes up with his grandfather, and his grandfather's got this nice pickup truck. His grandfather puts him in the seat. The brown here you have to have a seat with the buckle and all that stuff. He gets all chimed in there, and they go uptown and get the mail, and then they leave there and go see, visit the kids. He's got a couple of sons that live here in town, and he just delights in being able to get out. And he's the most sociable kid I have ever seen, and he's got a lot of cousins and stuff like that to play with. I mean, sometimes there's a yard full next door over here of kids, and I mean, he's just out there running and gunning like they are, and he likes to play ball and swing and all the things that you just you almost forgot about what it's like. Especially, I mean, look at me, I'm up there in age. But and he always gives a big smile and yells at me, says, "Hi, Ray." And when I come out my back door, if he happens to be in the backyard over there, he'll yell at me and come over to I've got a fence back there to keep my pup in, and we'll go over there and talk. Like on Tool Man, and the guy next door sets his eyes over the fence and talks. That's me, I guess. Today, the reason I started talking about him today is I went up and got the mail just a little bit ago, half hour ago or so, and he was there with his granddad. And, so I happened to spy him, said hi, and he just sticked his head out of the truck. He's just all, yep. Is that your truck? I said, yeah, that's my truck. You don't see this one much because I've got a white truck sitting out in the drive, and that's the one I drive most of the time. But this one, if you don't drive it once in a while, they get pretty gummed up. And at the beginning of summer, I loaded it up with fertilizer, and I've got some seeds with bedding. I don't know if you've seen that kind. But anyway, you spread it out, and it's got kind of like a bedding in it and seeds in it and everything. Got some patches to take care of, and I want to do it. We've got a hot spell coming. As soon as that hot spell is over, then that's when I'm going to redo part of the backyard back here. I've got a couple of spots that need fixed. But anyway, that was my breath of fresh air today, or sunshine, or whatever you want to call it. Was like I say, this place for me is my utopia and my wife's utopia. It's one of those places where when we come out the back, and I've got a patio out here that's 3 foot off the ground, and you know, it's just, it's not real fancy, but it's not just a deck. It's got a top up there. I mean, it's nice. But when we look out, there's trees over here on this side of me, and come around like this in the next yards. They're over 100 feet tall, and my neighbor, I've got one here that's probably 80 or 90 feet behind my garage here, another one at that corner, and then one in the backyard, my neighbor's backyard here, right in the middle of the yard. It's probably between 90 and 100. I mean, it's old, a real old tree. These here are walnut trees here. And then I've got a tree back here that's probably 60, 70 feet tall, just on the other side here. Directly, the sun will be coming down far enough where that it'll throw a shadow all the way up to my garage. And then I've got trees behind me. One of them back here is 40 and 30 foot, and then I just put a new, it's diamond white spruce over here on the end. And then I've got trees we planted a year ago. They're bushes. They're trees that you can keep down the bushes. They're pines. They ring this whole side over here. So when you come in here, it's like a great big park. And my neighbor over there, he's got over a dozen trees. They're in between medium maturity. He redid his old yard over the course of the last 15, 20 years. I've been here over 20, so I've got to see a lot of things change. And everybody that rings me here has got at least a half acre. The guy across from me, he's got an acre and a half. The one on the other side of up here, 2 doors up, he's got, I think, almost 2 acres up there. And the guy up on the hill, he's got, I think, 4.5. This guy over there's got a couple. So it's all kind of small acreages, and then it's all country. On the other side of my neighbor here, everything is corn and beans, and we don't have any confinements until you get out of town, probably 6 miles or so. There's one out that way 6 miles, and one west of me, or no, east of me, about 10 miles, I think. But we don't have too many animals, mostly grain farms right around close here, thank goodness. But like I say, it's like a big park, so would I ever go somewhere else? Probably not. Like I say, my wife and I, we looked for a long time, and we kind of fell in love with this place. And this particular piece, this garage wasn't here. The house has a garage attached to it. And it only had a couple trees. It really, and a couple bushes out front, but it just wasn't that great. It was something that we knew we could make into what we wanted, and that every year we've had some kind of a project. We just kind of sit down and we think about it ahead of time, and put a pencil to it and find out if we can find somebody to do it. And that's the way it is. I've went through a couple flagpoles here. My first one, the tornado got it. I think it was about 8, 9 years ago. He got it and wiped my trees out back the crisscross this way. So I still got the one that was in the corner there as far as my trees, and it topped part of the walnut trees next to me there. But they look okay. I mean, we've had enough years where they filled back out, and across from me, across the road that way, it wiped out I think almost all the trees running north and south. Would be let's say like a city and a half block away from me, so we get a lot of sound from that direction. It's kind of at the top of it goes like this, it goes like this property. It comes back up, and so it goes up that way. Those trees stopped all the noises from up the other end, and they kind of helped. You don't get quite as much snowfall from that side. I've got enough around me that in the wintertime, it doesn't get real windy. We get our share of snow. Sometimes my driveway will get, from snow drifts, it'll get 3 feet out there. And then down here, my garage is underneath the house on that end, and where it goes down like this and comes across, I've had that fill all the way across before blowing snow. That's just one of the things that happens if you get far enough north that you can get a little snowfall. It don't take too many inches to fill a ditch. But and I live in the Midwest as it is. I'm not out in the prairie areas by any means, but we get some of the results of the prairie areas. Yeah, it was an ideal thing. I guess it's you can spend your whole life looking for a place, and then you find it, and hopefully you can get it or build it or do something. Sometimes it's a battle to keep Uncle Sam from taking it because, boy, my taxes, they're actually a little more than tripled. I got my new tax bill here about a month ago, and every year they raise it, but man, it was, in the last 3.5 years, the amount of tax that it raised is huge, just huge. And all my neighbors have went through the same thing. It seems like, they reevaluated our house when Biden got in, and they said, well, this wasn't going to affect our taxes. They lied. My house went up as much as, my taxes went up the amount the taxes did. And it's a big dollar out of the pocket. When you're on fixed income, boy, does that sting. Along with everything else. It's not, I guess I shouldn't complain because I'm lucky enough that I'm still here being able to enjoy those fruits of the labor that I've put away for all these years. To complain, I guess, is to take away from some of the enjoyment you really have. So I may not like it when they raise the taxes like that, but at least I'm in a country where I can say that it's my house, even if Uncle Sam could take it right away from me any time. The insurances, they really, even my vehicles, I've got a couple. I've got a couple I don't drive. I love vehicles, cars. So it's hard for me to get rid of one once I bought it. I may go out and get another one and say I'm going to sell one, but sometimes it takes a while. Because I just like work and messing with it. Just that one's kind of my hobby back there. It has been for a while. It drives perfect. There's nothing wrong with it other than it's just a little Ranger is all it is. It's 4-wheel drive and it is a off-road version, but that means it's got heavy suspension and if you hit a bump, you know that it was there. That's what that means. Oh heck, I don't know what else to talk about. I said I want to keep it positive, and I hope it's positive enough for you guys out there to understand how you can get where I am in my station of life, retired and everything, and still be happy. And I guess it's kind of like picking the place that you really want and doing it ahead of time. And then if you're lucky enough to be married like I am, the two of you can plan things, and you have something to look forward to just about every year. I mean, one of our biggest things last year was the front of our place. We had where the walk comes up and steps and everything. The stone that was out there wasn't the greatest. It was kind of a cheap job, so we had it all taken out and redone, moved around a little bit, and new stuff put in, better grade of stuff, and it improved the looks. And hopefully, cross our fingers and knock on wood, we won't have to redo it again. It should last us the rest of our life, I hope. But in the driveways, they're concrete. We had them redone 12, 13 years ago, I guess. Well, maybe it's longer. Matter of fact, it was because I was still working when we poured the driveway. We've had this place over 21 years, so. And they were done while I was still working. My neighbor, I think it's a nephew, had a concrete business. So I was able to get him to come in and do those two driveways. He did a nice job on it. In a small town, it's kind of word of mouth, finding somebody that does the work, and you get pretty good work out of people. Anybody's recommended, at least they've done some work for them, or their relatives, and they if they're recommended, so a lot of times they're kind of obligated to do a good job. Then they don't want their relatives to give them a bad time. I don't think, anyway. Yeah, and there's I'm kind of in the middle of several towns that are between 10 and 20,000 people, so it's not like there's big cities. I have to drive quite a ways to get to a major city where there's, say, over 500,000 people. And in those areas, you can do some of your major shopping if you want. We try not to travel too much unless we have to, but and the smaller towns around here of 10 to 20,000, they each have hospitals. Matter of fact, I'm in one direction going that way. It's 22 miles to the hospital. Going that way, it's 14. Going that way, it's 12. So it don't take long to get medical help. And we even have a center here in town. As small as this town is, it's about, I think that last time they looked, it was around 1,200 people. And we actually have a place here where if you need a flu shot or something like that, you can go uptown and they'll service you. There's a registered nurse that has an office here that's an off center of one of the hospitals. And if you need help right away, she can get it for you and get you there wherever it needs. They accept most insurances. It's all around, it's good for people. We have a little mom and pop grocery store and Dollar General right down here. They put it in 3 years ago, I think it was. So actually we have a lot of things. If we want something different, it's not that far to get to one of these smaller communities around here. There's a couple colleges close. So there's plenty for the young people if they want to be on their own and yet not far from home. They can do that. One of the colleges is known for it's one of the top ones in the nation. It's there's only a little over 20,000 people in that town. To have a college like that, and it's also one of the richest ones. Their endowments are just huge. And you wouldn't know it to look at the college. I mean, it's, I think the tallest building is 3 stories on their campus. And it's all full of trees around it. You wouldn't even know it was unless you are right there walking the campus. And yeah, to come from a block in any direction of any, the outlying areas, you wouldn't know there was a campus there. Oh, I don't know what else I can tell you about the area. Like I say, it's just a BS session without having a lot of gripes and no finger pointing or how about I'll go like this, finger pointing. Got to get one in there, right? I watched a few videos today. Nothing earth-shattering out there that I'm aware of. I wish everybody could be as happy as what I am. I worked hard to get to the point I am, and I realized over the years I did all those things that young people do, made all those mistakes, and I was lucky enough that I matured at an early enough age to still not get something wrong with my noggin or my physically lose an arm or leg or something. When you're lucky enough to have your high school sweetheart as your partner, how much luckier can you be than that? We have our memories are almost identical going back as far as experiences. We have almost everything we have in common with each other, and so we had a good start right off the bat. But it's one of those. I wouldn't say a story, but back then, people didn't travel as much, so most people married girls that they grew up with in their hometown. There wasn't too many that went out somewhere and came back. And I got married halfway through my military obligation. I'd been in there a year and a half when I got married. Matter of fact, I had to have my commanding officer sign off on paperwork so I could even get married. You belong to the military when you're in there. It's not mama may I. It's sir, I would like to get married on my leave. Can I get the proper paperwork? And part of that is turned in with your marriage certificate when you get back to your base, so you can get your wife on the dole because she gets part of your pay from that day on. You know that you're obligated on your next payroll. The Army kicks in a little and you kick in a little. So, yeah, you see it on your paycheck. Let's see, what else is there? One of these days, maybe I'll talk about some of the cars that I had over the years, how much fun they were putting them together, or I sure wish I had them all because, oh man, were they fun. Most of them looked great. Very few of them were rust buckets, but a lot of them weren't very old when I got them, but you knew they were going to be classics because they were such a popular car, let's put it that way. Convertibles, I had a lot of convertibles. I loved them. A lot of two-door hardtops, two-door sedans. Very few four-doors, although there was times with the family where I made sure I had at least one four-door family car so that it was a lot easier for the children to get in to the vehicle. And most of the time they got into the back seat. The vehicles back then were big. And we didn't have chairs to put babies in and stuff like that back then, but there was enough seat belts in the car. And my kids didn't like traveling that much. It's too boring in a car. They did it. They were just tolerant. It's a good thing they had a tolerance because we spent a lot of time driving and seeing things. We loved to travel around on weekends and see stuff. A lot of parks, and some of them were state, most of them were state parks that we went. And we loved to fish. I broke them in on fishing from the time they were 2 years old. My daughters are twins, and their eyes used to just flash. They get a fishing pole in their hand and catch a fish. Didn't care how big it was, just to catch it. They were so happy. And we almost always had a boat of some kind. One of these days, I'm going to tell you about my first two boats, and boy, oh, I was pretty dumb when I got those boats, and I didn't know much, and I'm lucky I didn't sink them. Like I'm close. And even my third boat. One time I was running down this big river with it. I got in behind a tugboat. You know, they have these great big swells. And I gave it the juice on one of the swells, and it went up over it like that, and went airborne, come down into the second swell, and it flattened my windshield because it was like an arrow going into that next one. And I filled the boat about half full of water. That took a while to bail it out. And it taught me a lesson. I never, ever, ever did that again. Well, with that, I'm going to let this go. You got my, it's my one for the day. No gripes, not crying, not beating up on anybody at all, verbally or otherwise. Just one of the, if you made it this far, you've got a lot of patience as well. I'll see you on the next one.